Alright guys, and welcome back to another video series. We're starting to kick off the Suicidal playthrough for the team. Now, I have wiped my files. I have 0 saved games sitting into the folders. So that means I do not have any achievements unlocked. So that is going to be one of the primary focuses that we are hashing out with this video series, is going to be hitting all these achievement points to be able to unlock some burst feats, so we can get some pretty cool stuff unlocked. Some of these are going to be relatively difficult. Some of these are really easy. They're just running around the world and getting things. Some of these are going to be in our way that we have to defeat anyways to move the story along. Others like the Wisps, the Undead Dragon, the 82 species. This one I'm actually going to try to get all of the species killed in this playthrough, so at least everybody has a documentation of where every one of these monsters are. Now, there was a minor stipulation from Volker for this playthrough, and that was to have a team consisting of a ranger, a rogue, an archer, a mage, druid, and a monk. So he also initially said no melee at all, and I was like, that's really kind of hard. You got to have a little bit of melee distraction so everybody can take care of it. I'm not saying it's impossible, I'm saying it's hard. So he's going to allow my ranger for this playthrough to be kind of the melee person. Everybody else stays ranged or caster, which is perfectly fine. I can deal with that. He did not put a stipulation on anything else. So we're going to go ahead and look at the wiki and pull this up. It does say I'm offline, but I have these over here anyways. So some of the resources that we have available to ourselves are the class descriptions with their rotation bonuses for their levels. Now, looking at Ranger, we have Dex, Accuracy +3, TP +2, Resist Elemental, which is going to be our primary one that we actually want, +3, Strength and XP. Everything else is kind of lends itself to a very balanced character. But the Resist Elements is what we want. We want to try to get that as much as possible. And the easiest way to kind of min-max yourself with this is figure out what end stat of resistances you want. So let's say if you're wanting to max that, you're going to take 100, which is the max cap for resistance, divided by 3, which is the level bonus for elemental resists, and that's going to give you 33.3% or 1/3, and it's going to be a nasty run on a decimal, so we'll round that up to 34. Now we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 bonuses that we get for levels. So you're going to take that 34 times 6, and that's going to give you your maximum level, which is going to be about 216, if my math is correct. And at level 216, you're going to have max resistances just from your natural level bonuses. And of course, if you want to just do 50, you would just have that, and so on. So I'm wanting to at least get 30 on the resistance. That's going to give us level 60. That we have to shoot for before turning over to, I believe since that'll be Ranger on the melee on the Ranger, that'll go Warrior, that just is more suiting. Archer, similar thing here, but the big one here is that'll be the Critical Strike. We want to get as much Critical Strike as possible for the Archer before going Marksman, because Marksman doesn't have any rotational bonuses to crit. 50% crit would be nice, plus whatever our gear gives us. Rogue is kind of decent all around. Instead of having a 2 crits in one set, he's got crit kind of spread out with that. But it's going to be the same as the Archer. We want to get as much as possible. Our Monk, the main thing that we're going to look for is Undead. Because if we're going to turn our monk into a priest, that's not going to matter. But if we turn our monk into a samurai, samurai's undead bonus drops off. with rotation. So the easiest way to figure this out is round your monk's level to the nearest 5 or 10 going up, and that is going to be your and undead percentage bonus. So if you have a level 25 monk, you're going to have 25% to undead damage, and if you have 30, it's going to be 30, 50 is 50. We don't have a cleric, we don't have to worry about that. Mage is pretty straightforward. TP and SP just rotates back and forth. So you got to have a lot of mana, a lot of talent points to put into your spells to get them up quick enough. Or if you dump those into Dex, you're going to increase that speed a little bit more. Same way with Druid. Druid is kind of a jack of all trades class. You get TP, resists, TP, SP, TP, SP. So you're going to have a lot of mana. You're going to have a lot of stat points to just kind of distribute around. Now, Druids are hardy enough that they can be midliners and go into a little bit of melee. They can attack stuff if they need to. Get up close with their poison dart, which is very nice. Attack poisons very well. Gets pretty high damage off of that. But you're going to have them relatively close, even at high levels that you're within 4 spots of something. So some of these TP points and talent points that we have from the level rotations are there to go into stats so we can have better gear and make our druid a little bit more hardy. Now going into the extra classes, once we get into the guild unlocks, again, I think I'm going to turn the warrior or ranger into a warrior. That's going to give us the HP bonus and the armor bonus that we need, along with a little bit more evade. He's, again, is going to be our frontline person, so that's going to do him really well. Samurai, I harp on Samurai quite a bit. It's one of my favorite classes, and especially going from Monk to Samurai. The speed transition from Monk and Samurai is phenomenal. The fastest class there is so far, besides a Rogue going into Assassin. But that is the main purpose, is the huge speed bonus. They're just ridiculously fast. Marksmen. They get speed bonus too, but they get a huge boost of accuracy. If you're doing bows, that's going to increase your range a little bit. You're going to be able to stay out better. The accuracy does lend itself to a little bit better crit rate. That's just natural. If you're going to hit something a little bit more often, you're going to have that higher crit chance, or your natural crit chance a little bit more often. Rogue, we're going to send to Assassin, which is all around good. Ridiculous rotations on this. A lot of it is redundant, but it creates for a nice, well-rounded Assassin that can either be ranged or be up front melee with its backstab. A priest, I still haven't decided on whether to put the monk as a priest later on or go to the samurai. I might actually leave that up to you guys on deciding this, but that undead bonus goes from 5 points from a monk to 10 points for a priest, and then the rest is SP and TP. So if we go priest route, I want to level the monk up a little bit more and get squeeze a little bit more of that speed and evade out of that level rotation. Geomancer, that's going to be the natural progression for the druid. Again, we're going to have a whole ton of leftover talent points to just throw into spells and throw into stats, along with a bunch of spell points, which is fine because you're going to need a lot of mana for meteor spells. And the wizard is the exact same way. A lot of TP on rotation and a lot of SP on rotation, which is fantastic. So we'll be focusing on them. Depending on the gear that we manage to find, we'll do that. Now, another thing that we have at our disposal is the birth feats. Now, these are somewhat self-explanatory. So I'm looking at kind of minimizing the downfalls of this party and maximizing the bonuses that we can get. So I want to start with a team that has decently high dexterity, decently high speed, because that's one of the stats you can't easily boost later on unless you have a class that has that in its level rotation. So we're going to look at maximizing our strengths with this. And one of the ones that I'm going to do is I'm going to use the anti-node on the Ranger. And it's going to give us this huge magic resist bonus that is going to help us out. The Rangers that I have the natural rotation for fire, lightning, frost, and poison. We can get the birth feat for this one for magic. So the only thing that we really have to look for and gear-wise is going to be life-draining equipment, which we can find easily with jewelry, rings, and amulets. One of the other ones that I'm thinking about using is either the rogue or our mage going protege, and this starts with a lot of extra skill levels and spell levels that what they start with. So it gives them that kind of an easy push. And the reason why I'm leaning more towards this one is this is kind of an underused birth feat, and I want to kind of showcase that start off with. And to me, the hardest part of the game is really those first 10 levels and getting to a point where you can easily defeat a Spectre. Once you defeat a Spectre and you can level up on Spectres either in the tomb or in the tower, the game is going to go slightly quicker and slightly easier because you have that at your disposal, and it makes the Lich fight a lot more less challenging. Now, I did play around with thinking about going Tree Hugger for the Druid, but the lack of shoes, that doesn't bother me, but the lack of jewelry equipment slots for a Druid actually hinders quite a bit, because you won't be able to stack increased mana or mana regen jewelry items that easily, and so you're going to hinder yourself on the back end there. But the contemplation of having wolves to start out with at a higher level than what they do naturally with the Druid makes a little bit of sense, but I'm thinking I might go in a different direction with that. Another one that I actually like is some of the Ancestries. The Rogue, I've thought about doing a Halfling Rogue. A lot of times when I played Dungeons & Dragons, especially in the past, probably past 10 years or so, a Halfling Rogue is kind of my go-to if I go Rogue. And then if I go Mage, a Gnome Mage. But I think Gnome Ancestry is locked out of Mage. Yeah, which I think is funny. Gnome Ancestry, you can either go Rogue, Monk, or Druid, but no Mage. And that kind of stinks. There's a little bit less of a play choice for that. Again, a Gnome Mage is something that I would fall into with other fantasy games with this, but a lot of that is just to be the lock picking. And another thing with the Gnome Ancestry versus the Halfling is the amount of dex, evasion, and speed that you get. If you have 16 or higher dex on a rogue and you grab Gnome Ancestry, the starting speed is fantastic, which really helps with things. You're going to have more turns, you're going to be able to put more damage out via spells and melee or range damage, which is phenomenal. Now, carry, I like carry, but the speed reduction on this after a couple patches ago kind of makes me shy away from this. You can have a mage that literally has like a 30 or 40 speed on him, and it completely blows. The battle will be completely over before he even gets to cast. So we're going to shy away from that, but I am going to show you how to get carry relatively on. It's kind of a neat little trick here. Now, as for Frost Hands, this is playable as right now. I'm thinking about running the Monk. If I decide before we roll the team to go Monk to Samurai, I'm going to roll Frost Hands and do a completely unarmed playthrough with the Monk and Samurai. Downside is Dex. We get minimized dex. Can't wear gloves, which is fine. Resist fire is inherent to 0 except for item bonuses. That is fine. The only thing that's going to be really high in fire damage, the fire drakes in the tomb when we go down to the catacombs. The dragons, they're all fire-based attacks, so that's going to hinder a little bit of farming there if we go that way. We'll come to that when I decide to roll this team here shortly. Now, the unlockable ones that we're looking for, since we're going to be doing the playthrough and unlocking the achievements, is Bloodlust. Lifesteal is natural to you. 7% unarmed, 5 melee, 3 ranged. Life drain damage, ++, and it levels with you. So this is similar to how Dynamo and Frost Hands go, that damage that you accrue is at an increase with level every time. So you can get a substantial amount of life drain. Not too many things are immune to life drain. Undead things are. The Frost Demon, I believe, is somewhat resistant to life drain. But a lot of natural things like the Minotaur, the Trolls, they're going to be more susceptible to that. Definitely the mercenaries in the Great Valley. Those guys, you hit them with life drain and it does quite a bit of damage. Dragon Blood, this is another one that I actually like and I've been playing around with quite a bit. You get to summon dragons. It starts with summoning a young dragon, then you can do a mature dragon. But the downside is it doesn't always work. You either get an ally, you don't get anything at all, or you summon a dragon that is against you as an enemy. The plus side of that is you get to kill them, and you get the experience and the level increase from that. And I had an entire team of rangers and a couple of monks that had all dragon bloods, and I got them before we even took the lich to about a level 1,000, and I was like, yeah, this is fantastic, but it's just kind of a gimmick after that point. But it is fantastic to have. The other bonus to this is a huge health increase and a huge health regen, which is nice. Taking Dragon Blood feat by itself, just for the health increase and health regen, is one thing. The other thing is the cold resists is going to be inherent to 0, which at this time of the game, there's not many things that do cold damage. Unless you're wandering around the frozen valley and taking on the little frozen bear guys, I forget what they're called, or the frost demons, you're not going to have that much of cold stuff being thrown at you, which, again, is okay. Chapter 3, we don't know what's coming in the Chapter 3 yet, so that may make that decrease in inherence to 0 for frost resist a little bit more of an upset. But that's what we're going to do. I'm going to go ahead and close this video out. I'm going to roll the team and get ready to start this Suicidal playthrough. Again, I thank you guys for joining me today to discuss some of the resources we have while rolling the teams. We can look at the class rotations, the burst feats. I'm laying out pretty much what we're going to do for the Suicidal playthrough. Another thing that I'm going to look at is not purchasing anything for the entirety of the playthrough. That means I'm not going to go through a shop and buy a new weapon or a piece of armor. I'm going to find everything either from picked up loot or encounters that we win after defeating a mob. So those are the primary things. Restricted to the team access that we have. We're not going to Uber level, and we're not going to buy anything. So join me next time as we get started.